How do you respond to criticism that the Latvian government allowed for too much overheating in the economy, too much growth of wages versus productivity that basically led to this situation? How do you respond to that?
Kā būtu angļu nenopietnas? Ja? Nu, nenopietnas, bet vieglprātīgs. Tad bija doma, ka, teiksim, ka mazliet jau vieglprātība, protams, bijis gan sabiedrībā, gan valdībā. Okay, I will try.
Yeah.
Ne? No, not easy. Okay, it's difficult to find the right word, but these 3 years we had highest growth of GDP in EU, and of course citizens and government was happy about this situation, and as I said, society and government was too optimistic. Of course, it was pretty big political pressure to wages because we had lowest wages in EU, and yeah, it was part of a situation. And from today's point of view, unfortunately, or it's very good. I was appointed as Minister of Finance in this situation to cut expenses, and this government do it very serious and in very serious amounts. But yes, I think it was too optimistic. All steps government did in this previous year when we had highest growth of GDP in EU. But government and politicians are like all society, were too optimistic, and nobody of course expected in the world, not in Latvia. Nobody expected this big financial turmoil and crisis in the world, which started not in Latvia but in Lehman Brothers, for example, and of course it makes our situation much harder, but it's world problem. And nobody in your channel and nobody expected so deep financial crisis.
That's for sure. What is your forecast for GDP for next year?
Good question. Tactics and strategy for Minister of Finance. We are preparing budget on figures we have in day. These figures are changing pretty quickly. We started with forecasts of GDP to plus 2%. It was in July. We accepted budget in Parliament. It was -1. Today, our forecast in Ministry of Finance, together with Latvia Central Bank and the Ministry of Economy, is -4.3. We are in process in negotiations with IMF and EU, and now we are talking approximately about 5% minus, because this international financial environment is terrible, I have to say.
What conditions do you expect the IMF to set for this loan?
Today's situation is very good. As said, representatives of IMF, new IMF, it's not old IMF, and they are waiting for our proposals, and we prepared this macroeconomical plan how we see, with very hard and serious tools, more or less I explained you. To cut budget expenses, to strong financial and fiscal policy, the main tools. And cut off wages, public wages, we already did it, but not only cut, we frozen wages, but now it's clear it will be necessary in some fields to cut. Very unpopular decisions, I have to say, but we will go.
What about the Latvian currency? Will you need to widen the trading corridor, devalue the currency?
No, it's not a matter of discussion.
How does the current situation and the prospect of the IMF and the EU's loans impact on the introduction of the euro to Latvia?
Good question. It seems to me today it makes not big impact, because anyway we're still planning we are planning to introduce euro in year 2012. I think it is pretty ambitious plan. On one hand, on the other hand, the situation is changing very quickly. We had only 2 points, weak points. We had very high inflation, but now inflation rate is coming down, and we see next year the inflation rate will be pretty low. And
how low?
We'll see. Official forecast 8%. I think it will be lower. Because but that for sure will be lower. And it means we will meet criteria of Maastricht pretty soon. I think about inflation rate. I am not sure we will be happy about this, but we will meet criteria, Maastricht criteria, pretty soon. We are working, of course. For Minister of Finance, it will be the best day in my life. We will join Eurozone because, of course, for small economy like Latvia it's difficult to fight against sometimes rumors and pressure and games of market. But anyway, our currency are stable.
What is your biggest concern in terms of how this whole crisis is going to affect the real economy?
Yeah, I think it's the main point I'm thinking, but I don't want to be the most pessimistic person in the world. But if I see what happens in the world, I have to say in all world will be pretty bad in the economy, because this situation with frozen trust between banks all over the world, it makes very bad influence in Latvia economy, but not only. And I think all experts are making forecasts, and they are in trouble. And everybody wants to say, okay, it will be much worse. I hope it will be okay, but I cannot say. We have figures showing us end of recession in the world or in Latvia.
So, but in Latvia specifically, which areas of the real economy are most vulnerable? What gives you the most concern?
I think the good thing is our economy. We had crisis, not first crisis in our life, not first crisis in my life. We had Russia time, Russia crisis. It was 1998. We had our bank system crisis in the middle of 90s, and unfortunately now we meet world crisis, first time in our life. I say it quickly. It will be jautājums. Most vulnerable sector. After this crisis, our risks and economy is pretty divided. We have not very big companies which makes very big influence. Of course, we have some, but in general, our risk is pretty splitted. And from this point of view, I think we are pretty good situation in this crisis situation, and that's why I cannot say one sector is very in different situation in comparison with others.
Okay, but let's look now what's going to come in the next month or so, or the next few weeks, or the next coming months. Are we talking about now the next issue being unemployment? Are we talking about potentially people panicking and taking deposits out of banks? We're seeing that a lot of the deposits have been removed from October.